Studios, the ausbiz COB is the key stuff you need to know about the day in business and finance.
Welcome to the COB. I'm Daniela Coulier here with
Juliette Sarli. Happy Tuesday on a day where we're kind of just muddling along, treading water, I guess.
Absolutely. And look, let's have a look at the local index and see how it closed today because, oh, Jules, it's not even managing to be a point up the CBO 200. So for all intents purposes, flat as a tack and pretty much the same for the ASX 200, which isn't up a point either. So let's go to the three themes to have a look and see what is actually going on at the moment because we are marking time, Jules. This CPI figure that's due out tonight in the US for February. Core inflation expected to be 0.3%, and I think that's 0.4% month on month and 3.1% annually year on year. But it's really important because January, Jules, it was a bit too high.
Absolutely. It's a very key figure that the markets will be looking for ahead of the FOMC meeting next week as well. So that is to the point as why we've been treading water on the markets, not much happening. Everyone just trying to stay out of their positions until we get that print coming through. But certainly, as you mentioned, the banks coming back. I mean, we had that pretty solid call coming through from Jarden last week, and now a few more brokers upgrading their calls on the banks too, even though there are these fears that with CBA around 120 could be a bit frothy. It doesn't seem like the analysts think that.
No, I was discussing yesterday on the COB the fact that Matt Common had said a US pension fund had been buying Commonwealth Bank. So there you go. For some reason, Aussie banks are on the global sphere at the moment. I think it has a lot to do with buying a potential sort of call option on our housing market once interest rates drops. But hey ho, there's always 50 zillion reasons for why things go up or down.
And 50 zillion reasons as to why Bitcoin keeps minting millionaires as well. Absolute incredible demand after those ETFs that we saw approved in January. And it really just does seem that Bitcoin is back.
Absolutely, certainly for the moment, and we are going to be touching on those cryptocurrencies with our guest who is coming up very soon. Now let's have a look at some of the sectors because bucking the trend at one stage was the information technology stocks, which were again in positive territory, which is interesting, Jules, because NASDAQ continues to be a little bit weak, although Adobe came out with some pretty good results and was up 12% in the aftermarket. So WiseTech leading the pack there, up 1.36%, but Xero, NextDC and Technology One all in the green today.
Yep, having a look at some of the other movers today. Utilities there, a little bit of a mixed picture, but really I think it was the energy players that were the underperformers today. If we have a look at some of those, Santos, Woodside down and Karoon Energy off by about 0.4%.
Now let's check in with some of the corporate stories because Adairs said the chairman, Brett Chenoweth, will step down this month after he tendered his resignation to focus on other roles in tech and media. And director Kate Spargo will act as an interim non-executive chairwoman.
Ramelius had a good day, up about 4%. It's expecting $1.7 billion in gold proceeds over the next 10 years from one of its projects in WA.
And let's having a look at lithium producer Pilbara Minerals. Okay, it looks like we are seeing some life back in those lithium miners. And today they announced a new offtake agreement with Sichuan Yahua Industrial Group to supply 160 kilotons of spodumene, a concentrate to be sold at market prices over the next 3 years from its Pilgangoora operation.
And shares in Metcash, up by about 3%. So it had some good sales for the 10 months to February. A good when they're in the consumer staples sector.
Now, there's been a lot of talk comparing Bitcoin to digital gold, and we've seen those massive inflows into spot Bitcoin ETFs growing by the day. So let's take a look at a tweet from a market strategist, Charlie Bellello, with some of those statistics.
Yeah, so he's talking about the total assets in the 11 spot Bitcoin ETFs, which you mentioned were launched in January, have now increased from 28.7 billion on the first day of trading to 55.3 billion today, and now only 1.6 billion below the assets under management of the largest gold ETF. So really just again talking about the impact of digital gold, which it is so so-called these cryptocurrencies and how much demand there is.
Yeah, and our next guest thinks there's a similar comparison to be made with silver and digital silver. So welcome to the COB, Jonathan Takadina from MPC Markets. Great to see you, Jonathan. Thanks for coming in.
And thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because when we talk about liquidity, sometimes it flows from one asset class onto another one. And there has been so much price appreciation, not only in crypto, but also gold.
Yeah.
So can this continue? Is Ethereum the next one that's going to, Ethereum is already going up, isn't it?
It's already going. So the thing I wanted to kind of highlight today is that, we've got a slow market here. Gold's taken the headline. Digital gold in terms of Bitcoin's taken the headline as well. But if you look at second place, let's look at kind of the Stephen Bradbury of the markets. So silver hasn't broken out to new highs yet, and the digital silver, Ethereum, hasn't broken out to new highs just yet. Now, so with Ethereum, I actually remembered I started back in, I think, early 17. I remember doing transactions for maybe $1 or $2 in gas fees. That blew up to about 300 when the NFT craze was going and yield farming took hold. And it's kind of back now. So if digital gold is the place to be, I think there's an opportunity in Ethereum. Like, it's around 4,080, and I believe the high was just under the 5,000 mark. So there's still kind of a bit of room to go there. So definitely an opportunity there.
And a lot of interest as well on the expectation that there will be Ethereum ETFs too. How soon do you think that could happen?
I think with them approving Bitcoin so soon, I think it'll take a while for the Ethereum ETF to actually be approved. But we've seen with crypto, it's just all based on hype. When people get excited, it'll run. And if you look at the actual amount of total value locked in the Ethereum blockchain and competing blockchains, it just keeps rising higher. So as I said, I just think there's a lot of catalysts to make Ethereum push on from here.
Interesting. What about silver? Because gold has been remarkably high, and a lot might depend on what happens with that US CPI print tonight. That could flush out some volatility in markets. But why is silver appealing?
So, funny thing about silver is that I had a look at the actual whole metal complex, and palladium and platinum were lagging, but they've also just jumped as well. So it's kind of like same thing. Look, most of the money's gone into gold, and now we're starting to see the secondary sort of competitors take some of the liquidity as well. So I just see a jump in silver. It actually has some industrial use. They use it for solar panels and other uses like that. So there is an industrial aspect to that. And if you look at the chart of copper, that's how they run as well. So there's plenty of opportunity in silver. And when it does run, it does actually run harder than gold because there's an actual industrial use there, and there could actually be a short squeeze as well.
I was about to say, it's really hard to, not a lot of silver is mined. It's a byproduct, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just people actually looking for gold and copper because they're easy to find, and they're like, oh, there's a bit of silver credits there as well. And that's kind of where it is. And if you look here in Australia, so one thing with Australia is that we're usually blessed with some of the best deposits in the world of any material out there. There aren't many actual pure silver plays out there. As you said, it's a byproduct, and that's why there could be a short squeeze in the future there.
Jonathan, just looking at that tweet that we showed before in the movement of Bitcoin ETFs getting close towards gold, what is your view on that in the sense that really this digital gold could potentially even overtake the physical gold?
Oh, I think it's shown that. Okay, so let's just step back. Gold is old-time money. It has its store of value, but the thing is, we're just heading into a digital age now. And we just think that whoever believes in the digital age, and I think we all, you all use technology, they want to have the gold in that space there, and Bitcoin's it. So I think it will probably catch up to gold and probably surpass it as we head into a more digital age.
Interesting.
Very interesting indeed. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Okay, Jonathan Takadina there from MPC Markets.
Well, our stock of the day today was Ramelius Resources. We had Gary Glover from Novus Capital and Rudy Philippat Van Dyke from FN Arena Join Koshi.
The Ramelius is probably not showing relative strength in the sector. names like sort of Northern Star, Capricorn Metal, CMM, even sort of Perseus there, probably showing a bit more strength to me. Whereas Ramelius has sort of come back in the last few months, sort of like 180 sort of back to 135. So had a fairly large correction there, a bit of selling in there. So it's had a bit of a bounce today, obviously good news today, but it is not showing, relative strength. One thing I've learned in the last couple of years is you want to be sort of trading the stocks that have had the strongest rallies. When the metals cool off, they hold up nice and tight. Capricorn Metals just really didn't show any weakness at all throughout the gold decline. And as soon as gold's popped, it's popped here. Northern Star, that's the same here. Ramelius is not looking as anywhere near as strong as the other names. So I put it down the list on the gold stocks that I'll be looking at personally.
It takes off, maybe later in the year when we all get excited about Fed rate cuts.
Yep.
Those share prices should rally, essentially.
Right.
Now, there's also the comment made by Gary as well. You have to pick which one.
Pick your stock.
You have to pick your stock still, because there's still a lot of disappointment for the sector. But Ramelius, on the basis of history, it's not the safest bet to make. They can always come out with not disappointment. All else being equal, the way they are positioned now, the future should be much better.
Yep.
But I mean, we don't know, yeah. And now they're in conversation with maybe of a merger, which sort of like complicates the whole thing, because you never know how that's going to pan out, and etc. So maybe the sentiment expressed by Gary is correct, that maybe there are safer bets to play in the gold sector.
And lest we forget, Jules, our annual subscriber survey is open until March the 13th.
Yeah, we'd love it if you could take a couple of minutes and fill it out so we can make ausbiz better for you. And to sweeten the deal,
Someone is going to win a managed investment portfolio from MPC Markets worth $5,000.
there are other prizes too. So ausbiz.co/survey. So that's until tomorrow, I think. Today's the 12th, isn't it?
Absolutely. Time is flying this year. It's pretty scary. Let's check in now with some of today's leaders. And we have seen the mining sector coming back to life again. Bellevue Gold up there, up over 8%. Core Lithium also up over 8%. Alumina, of course, doing that deal with Alcoa, although subject to shareholder approval, but I'm sure some of those long-suffering shareholders will be enjoying this price appreciation. Chalice Mining, Jules, up over 6%, and Neuron Pharmaceuticals up by over 4.5%.
On the downside today, on a very flat day, is some weakness from, a lot of the mining players, Champion Iron, Coronado, Whitehaven Coal. Also, James Hardie came under pressure, and Domino's lost almost 3%.
Yeah, and let's have a look at some of the small caps and see what's happening there. So Appen, actually that was went into a trading halt, because as you can see, the shares were up 32%. I think they were doing a checking query on that one. Mesoblast up 21%, Neo Metals 15%, and Novonix up 13%.
And to the downside, in the small end of town, Lake Resources, 88 Energy, Allen Commercial Property, Plenty, and Genetic Signatures all fell between 6 to about 16%.
And let's have a check-in and see what is happening tonight. For anybody that possibly could have missed that the US CPI data is out for February. We've also got the US monthly budget statement, the US NFIB Small Business Index, and UK unemployment.
And looking ahead tomorrow, we've got Eurozone industrial production, UK industrial production, and UK trade balance. Also, I think it is BlackRock Mining and Meteoric Resources will come through with earnings, and this is actually mea culpa. Those stocks that are there actually were ex-dividend today, so we shouldn't have those up there.
No problemo, but let's do a final check on the market, Jules. See where we closed on the CBO 200. Yes, marking time, tick, 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 isn't it? We're just waiting.
We just said time goes so quickly, but not when you're waiting for CPI data, perhaps, or Fed Powell speaking.
Exactly, and of course we've also got the RBA next week, and I think you're going to be dashing down for the presser,
I'm
aren't
going to
you?
be asking a question if I'm lucky enough to Michelle Bullock. Yeah,
that's next week.
So that's next
we've
week.
Jumped ahead. Anyway, everybody have a great night, and of course we'll be here bright and early tomorrow morning, won't we, Jules?
We will. See you then.
Bye.